Welcome back to another podcast here in the Ram's Den in our new series, which is Two Men Talking. Men Talk. No, the series is called, I keep forgetting the name I've come up with, which is really
Yeah.
annoying. Men Talking About Things. Are they interesting? Let's find out. That's the whole title. I think
Yeah, I mean,
it's growing on me.
yeah, well, it's growing as well. It gets longer every fucking time.
Well, we are going to talk about something interesting. I think something interesting today.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about the Grand National.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Okay.
Racing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Well,
very interested in this topic. I've been following it closely since yesterday. This happened yesterday. Pretty topical. This podcast will drop literally ASAP. So this people will it'll probably be a couple of days after this.
yeah.
But yeah, it went down, didn't it? And
Well, do you want to start by actually saying what it is? Because I
the
feel
Grand
like some
National.
people are. Yeah.
The Grand National is the UK's most famous horse race event.
Mm,
So animals, not all animals, horses are racing there, and they're the most elite of the horses, the most
mm,
athletically trained horses that are forced into performing and pushing themselves to the absolute extreme limits of what an animal can do
mm,
against their will. Obviously, they don't choose to do that; they're forced to do that.
mm.
And this is basically this is the epitome of horse racing. It's like the ultimate event, and it's been under scrutiny for a while. And this year, especially, it's been under scrutiny because the new animal rights organization, or I don't know if you call them that, whatever,
Yeah.
Animal Rising, previously Animal Rebellion, they organized a big event there, a big protest, got inside, delayed it, caused a load of problems, and they blocked the
Mm.
motorway outside of it to stop everyone getting home. Which is, wow, I bet that really upset some people.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk about all that. You know some of these guys, right? You're
Yeah, I
involved.
mean, I was actually keeping up with it somewhat. I mean, I don't know all the details. I think you probably know more than me about what
Yeah.
happened yesterday and stuff. But as it was happening through the day and they were posting on the social media and stuff, I was like checking all the videos and photos to see how many people I recognized.
Mm,
And actually, I think this actually just goes to show how much of like a revolving door, like especially like animal rights activism is, because
right.
I hardly recognized anyone. I maybe saw one or two faces, and there were quite a lot of people there.
Well, when I first was checking all the posts and stuff, I was just like, "Where is everyone?" I thought there was supposed to be hundreds of people here. On one of their pictures, it was like 10 people, and I was worried. I was thinking, "Oh, this is this." I'm not worried, but I was a bit disappointed because I thought this was going to
Yeah.
be a huge deal, and I was kind of disappointed for them. I was thinking, oh, I bet they're pretty disappointed too. And I wondered if it was because they got hit in the media. Maybe people got scared of going because of all the media presence around it. Maybe they were worried about, I don't know. But then it did. There was a turnout. I mean, I was speaking to somebody else who knows people from there. He wasn't there, but he was telling me that he said there was like 100 people. Which, I mean, it's okay, but considering the amount of circulating kind of news stories around it, you'd have hoped for a lot more, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but I think with 100 people, even though it doesn't sound like, because I don't actually know how many people attended the actual event, but
Right.
I'm assuming it's many thousands.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be a lot. So compared to that, it's not a lot of people.
Mm.
But I think with 100 people, like, what are they trying to do? Like, they were trying to disrupt the actual event, which you don't actually need 100 people for. Like, you can disrupt the actual
Yeah.
event with less people, but they were also trying to get media attention.
Yeah.
And I feel like I was actually going to say I feel like in a photo, 100 people will be a decent amount to look like there's a lot of people there. But now that you've said that, given the photos you
Mm.
saw, maybe it isn't.
Probably isn't.
But
It's not. It doesn't look very impressive. But yeah, you're right. A lot can get. I mean, I'm just speaking as like at this point as like an objective. If you were
mm,
an event planner and you managed to get on national TV multiple
mm,
times, national radio multiple times, you'd expect more people to rock up, wouldn't you? So, but
mm,
I don't know the actual numbers. But what they actually did, though, and you're right, they still were able to succeed even despite that. They they went down there. They stood outside for a bit, protested outside. Some of them jumped the gate, and some of them got
Mm.
caught immediately. Some of them actually got in and got onto the racetrack and delayed the whole event for like an hour, which is, it's better than not delaying it. So that was I guess a small success. Then they
Mm.
blocked the M25. I think it was M25. I don't know. They blocked a major motorway
Yeah, nearby.
after that, which again propelled them into the media once again. So they had multiple points of being in the news. So I think from their eyes it was a success, and from my eyes I think it was a success too. I saw somebody on Twitter, a tweet's gone semi-viral. This guy saying I was really annoyed about these protesters, but then I saw some of the videos they were posting from
Mm.
the Grand National that the BBC didn't put on TV of
Yeah.
horses falling and then getting killed right there on because they kill them behind the shield, right, because they
Yeah.
can't move, they need to move them quick or whatever. And then he said, actually, I realized I was wrong, and now
Mm.
I want to do something about this. So that's one guy, obviously, but I bet there are many people out there who were annoyed by them, and then realized, wait a minute, look at the stuff that's going on
Mm.
here. It brought up a new, makes them see it in a different light. So I think they succeeded.
Yeah, and I see it as a bit of a low hanging fruit.
Right.
Just that,
That's like
like to be,
bullfighting or
yeah,
fur
exactly.
wearing or
Yeah, because
fox
it's
hunting.
like
Yeah.
out of all the forms of the ways that animals are used and abused and stuff,
Right.
horse racing, obviously, it's not that many animals in the grand scheme of
Mm.
things. And a lot of them are treated horribly, but it's not like they're on a factory farm, for example.
Right.
But it does seem like even though it's not like the number one issue that we need, all this sort of stuff,
Mm.
it's still an important issue. And it does seem like it's like something to do with dogs. It's just like low hanging fruit, right? Because people like horses, they think they're
They already can.
beautiful animals. Exactly,
Yeah.
people sort of admire them in that way.
Yeah.
People don't admire pigs, for example, or
Mm.
fish.
Mhm.
Like people find it very. I think people actually just think fish are kind of weird. They
Yeah.
think pigs
Well,
are
they are.
dirty. They are fucking weird, yeah.
Fish are weird and pigs are dirty, but not pigs are only dirty for one or two reasons, right? One reason is they have no choice because they're in a factory farm. The
Yeah,
second reason pigs are dirty is for sunblock. They roll
yeah,
in mud because their skin is like our skin. It gets
which is
sunburned.
smart.
Yeah, it's smart,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's not necessarily dirty. Like mud is mud. Like it doesn't have to be smelly mud. Mud
Mm,
doesn't really, it just smells like earth most of the time, unless if it's combined with shit, then okay, yeah, you could say that's pretty disgusting. But if you're just covered in mud, it's not a disgusting thing, is it? I
mm,
don't think anyway. But pigs are often covered in mud and shit because they have no choice. They can't get out of it because of farming.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think what they're kind of doing is like it's an industry where it does still have some support in the
Mm.
public, people betting on it and stuff. In
Yeah.
fact, I was on the train yesterday and there were these
Placing a few
two.
bets on your phone on the horses.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And mine got put down, and I was like, "Fuck!" That's all my money gone.
Oh my god.
Um, no, that's a joke, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, I
No
know
one,
it's
no
just
one
dark.
grill me.
It's just a dark joke, man. Jeez.
And no, these two lads sat down, and they were like, I don't know, I thought they looked like 14 or something, but
Yeah.
maybe they were just like baby faced or something. Um, and I
Yeah.
heard
Levels of
them sort
testosterone
of.
are dropping every year, bro.
Exactly, they were clear
Yeah.
betas,
Clearly
and
vegans. Soy
yeah,
buns.
yeah, exactly, yeah,
What were they
and
doing?
I looked over and one of them was picking up their soy latte. Uh, no, as I got off the train, I sort of how your eye just catches things, and I saw that they were watching the race on their phone,
Right,
and
right,
then what I heard them talking about before then made sense because I heard them referring to things like my horse and stuff like that.
right, right.
So this thing it does still have like public support a bit
Mm.
like, but greyhound racing I think less. I think greyhound races has like a worse view,
Yeah, for sure. Most people are
Um,
done with that.
yeah, but it still has public support. But I think a lot of people once these videos circulate, like
Mm.
you were saying,
Mhm,
and there was a guy, Alex Lockwood. There was a
mhm.
video going around that he's one of like the faces or whatever of Animal Rising, and
Right.
he did an interview on Talk Sport, and Talk
Yeah,
Sport is part of Talk Radio, one
yeah.
of the big radio shows in the UK, and he did a really good interview on there talking about. One, the industry itself, but also how there's a pipeline between the racing industry and just slaughtering horses. And
Right.
I don't know where they go. I mean, maybe they go into like dog food or something, or
People eat horses everywhere, just not
yeah,
just not real. Well, they were
yeah,
eating
or
them.
maybe they go to Tesco's.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
yeah, it's true. People were eating horses in the UK
yeah.
unknowingly for a while, and other countries, other countries across the EU eat horses. It's not even a stigma. There's no stigma with it or anything like that. It's just in the UK there seems to be a stigma. But
Mm,
then when a lot of people found out there was horse meat that was being in burgers and stuff, yeah, some people were enraged, but a lot of people were like, whatever,
sure.
So I don't know. So I don't know if there's like a it surprises people that that horses are slaughtered in the UK for meat. I don't get why it surprises them just because they like them, because they
Mm,
like horses more. I'm surprised they're killed. I don't. It's such a weird. People can be really weird with this kind of stuff.
mm,
Yeah. And if they have a problem with that, well, that's okay, good. Why not have a problem with everything else? Then like horses and cows are really not that different, really.
mm.
Like not really. If you stood them side by side, yeah, okay, they look a bit different, but I mean they're not different enough that okay, horses though, I love horses, but cows can die. It's a bit strange.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like to see a cow and a horse race. I
Yeah, I
think
mean,
I think the cow would get absolutely annihilated.
but if they were fighting head to head, the cow wins every day. Horses can only attack from the back. See,
Do you
cows
think how would a cow even attack?
headbutt, man. They break the ribs. The horse has to
Oh,
kick.
okay, if they have horns, okay, a
No,
cow
no,
with
no
okay,
horns. No horns. Just
really?
straight up blunt force trauma, just boom in the ribs. The horse is done. That cow needs to just land. Thing is, the horse has to turn around to kick, so they can't see where they're
Yeah,
kicking, right? The cow can just zone in on the horses. Like if the
yeah,
horse goes head to head with the cow wins. Like beat the horse would get
yeah,
knocked out.
yeah,
So I don't know. I think any animal that is built for ramming, I think is going to win with any other animal that isn't built for ramming because they'll be able to do that.
yeah,
Other herbivores. Sorry, not obviously not carnivores.
yeah. Carnivores, hands down. I mean, they've been
Like,
evolving for this shit for like
but
4 billion years.
not always though. Like wildebeest are. I think I read this. Like one of the biggest killers of like big cats is a wildebeest
Well,
because
because of their horns, because they're some nasty looking weapons.
yeah, probably that, but also partially because they're so big, so strong, and they headbutt and they fuck them up.
Yeah,
So yeah, herbivores have some. If they've got the headbutt down, they've probably got more of a chance of winning fights against other herbivores and even potentially carnivores if they land a strong headbutt. Yeah,
yeah. I think like most. I don't, I'm no expert on this, but I think most, and it would depend on the species as
yeah,
well. But most carnivores, I think most of their hunts fail.
they do. Yeah,
Yeah, and I don't know what that's a factor of. Maybe like they just get outrun because a lot of herbivores
yeah,
are just like super fast. They've just got really quick reflexes because they
yeah,
need them. I mean, you're slow as a gazelle, fucked.
yeah. If they're sick or old, they're done. I mean,
Yeah,
that's usually the ones they get. That's how it goes for those guys because they're easier to pick off. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I back to the Grand National, back to the horses.
yeah,
I saw some people. They were there's some of the pundits were trying to make out that Animal Rising were doing this for themselves. That the activists don't care. They tried to firstly say, check this out. There's a trainer of one of the horses. She said if they wanted to help animals, they wouldn't do this because doing this is hurting the horses. No idea what she's talking about. Maybe what by delaying the race, the horses
yeah,
get frustrated. Yeah, as if they haven't been frustrated for the I don't know 10 years. You've been
yeah,
whipping them and stuff and making them do shit. Yeah, sure. It's this 10, 20 minutes or an hour that's gonna do it. That's gonna
yeah.
harm them the most. Yeah, sure. And then this trainer went on to say, oh, and they're not even doing it for horses, they're doing it for themselves. It's quite funny.
It in what way? Like an
I
ego
don't know.
way? Like just trying to get on the news?
I don't know, man. I suppose maybe I mean, maybe she's trying to pick up on the off the work off the observation that people want to be special, and a lot of people do things because they want to be special. Like they,
Mm.
I was gonna go down a controversial route there, but there's lots of things. I just don't
Oh
know if we
shit!
want to do that today, but there's
Yeah,
lots
no,
of
I know
things.
where you were going, but we can scoot over
There's
that.
just lots of reasons and lots of things that people do. Like, for example, there
Yeah,
are real issues and real things happening in the world that people experience or do, or like activism or
mm,
self-identity stuff like that's real. And then there's another group of people that ride off of the real shit to make themselves feel special, to try and be part of those real groups.
Yeah.
For example, animal rights activists. Yeah, I'm an activist, or at least I do activism. So do you. Why? Because we care about animals, because we think animals are important, and we see what happens to them, and we have empathy, but also there's a sense of justice. Even if you didn't have necessarily some kind of loving empathy, there's also the sense of just, this is like
Yeah,
cold,
this is
hard
wrong.
injustice. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
wrong, and I want to stand against things that are wrong. And so that's the reason I do what I do. You do what you do. Lots of people do what they do. Unfortunately, there are also a lot of people in this world, animal rights world, also with all the others too, BLMs and the women's rights, whatever. Pick your cause. There are also other people in those causes who join those causes to feel like worthy, it's special, and to feel like give their life some purpose. And to be honest, it's not a to give your life purpose, to do this to give your life purpose, not a bad reason to do it, as long as you actually definitely give a shit
Yeah,
about
yeah,
what you're talking about. But to do this to feel special, that is a problem. To do this because, oh, I want people to notice me. I want attention. I want to be special. And unfortunately, yeah, there are people who do that. So they were trying to claim that, oh, this is the only reason these people are doing it today. Now, I can't tell you that all the people there weren't doing it for that. Like I can't. I've got no evidence to prove that this person's wrong, but she's got no evidence to prove that she's right either. So we have to. We should give people positive intention. They should be like, oh, you shouldn't assume they're there for the wrong reasons. And also, maybe the people outside, you could argue that for, yeah, they just want attention, whatever. The ones who stayed outside and marched, okay, whatever, who gives a shit? But the ones who got arrested and risked their freedom by jumping over the fence and breaking the law, you think they're doing it to feel feel special? Like what? They're risking jobs, they're risking livelihoods, really? You think that's the reason? So, and I personally don't think that, like, I think 99, I believe 99% of them were there for the right reasons, because I'm going to go ahead and give them the benefit of the doubt, right? If people don't want to give them the benefit of the doubt, that's your call. But what a weird observation, though. What a weird thing to go for, is that's your
yeah,
comeback, you know?
yeah. I get what you mean as well. Like some people do. Like I've sort of cooled off a bit now, but I was doing activism pretty like solidly for a few years, and I did notice there were a few people where you kind of just look at the way you behave and you think, are you are you the center of this? Are you really doing this for like the right reasons? So
Right.
I do get what you mean, but I think that's probably fairly, I don't know, if you look at like at least the West anyway, I can only really speak for the West or maybe the UK specifically, like it doesn't seem as easy to find meaning in society generally, right?
Mm.
So I even though it does annoy me when I see these sorts of people,
Yeah.
because it's like, this is not about you, man. Like,
Yeah. People
but
make.
I kind of empathize, because I do realize that there's like it is a bit harder to find sort of, because our whole society is based around like going through the education system, then getting a career, and then you have like this sort of predestined cultural map of how your life is going to go.
Yeah.
And we just didn't evolve to fit into that sort of cookie cutter, like how your life is going to go. Like, we evolved to be part of like a small knit community where you have relationships and stuff like that. And what with I think there are loads of things that are just a symptom of this, like dating apps and like stuff like that. Just the fact that we have to rely on technology now for so much of our things. And
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah.
there's also the complete failure of religion to fill that gap anymore. More and more people
Yeah.
turn away from it, and it's no surprise that people are turning away from religion. I mean, they're being told, do this or you've got eternal hell, and then the people who are telling you to do this are pedos. So I mean, you've got nonsense. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Even the Dalai Lama has just been
Oh,
busted for
Jesus.
for
Yeah.
for kissing some 9-year-old on the mouth and then telling him to suck his tongue. Like literally, like, and I'm going to say it one more time in case people didn't catch that. the people at the top of these big religions are
Mm.
nonces, and they're telling
Yeah.
you if you sin, you go to hell. And more and more people are turning away from it. So, but my point with that is yeah, they're turning to other things because we need to people need to have something to fill that gap in, to give them some kind of purpose or reason for being around.
Mm.
Unfortunately, with our evolution, one of the things we've been burdened with is this feeling of I need to make my life worthy of something. No other animal has it, but we are
Mm.
blessed with it. So we go around trying to find meaning. And yeah, a lot of people turn to animal rights to give them some kind of meaning. And I don't think that's even a problem. I think making your life's meaning fighting for those weaker than you is a good thing. I just worry about those that turn to it because they want to feel special, or they want to feel better than others, and they
Mm.
want to use that. Because yeah, I've met vegans who definitely do that, and they're a minority, but there are some people who
Mm.
you look at them and you're like, God, I hope you don't talk to too many people about veganism because they fucking hell until you get over yourself a bit at least. And
Yeah.
anyway, but to the point of this trainer, see, this trainer doesn't know what we know. Like, we know that the majority of people are hardworking. Majority of activists are hardworking activists who care about animals and they're fighting for animals, and that there's a small minority of people you'll come across who have, like any movement, like I said, like any movement, like any group, there are some people that come in and they got some ego shit going on.
Yeah, I
This
mean, look
one,
at cancel culture. That's
yeah,
basically driven by this sort of person.
but this trainer doesn't know any of this stuff. She's just saying it as a total knee-jerk reaction to the protesters. The counter arguments to all of this. Have you seen the kind of okay? That's her counter argument as a horse trainer. Just they're doing it for themselves. Okay, great. That's all you've got. Argue with them. Are they wrong? Are
Yeah.
horses being killed? Do you whip them and abuse them and force them to work to like an extreme level to the point where they get injured and die on like a semi-regular basis? Is this true or false? If it's false,
Mm.
then argue against them. Don't just talk about, well, their intentions though. Who gives a shit at this point? Even though she might be have some grain of truth to what she's saying. Like I said, a
Mm.
minority of in a small way. But okay, argue against their main points though. Regardless of the reason
Mm.
they're there, their points stand. So what is it then? Right? There's no argument.
I'm just on a call. Yeah, I
You
get what you
didn't.
mean.
That
What?
wasn't muted. You just shouted that down the microphone. By
Oh,
the
fuck's sake.
way, Mom. Damn it, Mom. I'm busy.
It wasn't even. Anyway, fuck's sake.
Oh, mate.
Yeah, I know. But what I did, so I was just watching Animal. To be honest, I find the name Animal Rising kind of cringy, but
Why?
I don't know. Like, I didn't find Animal Rebellion cringy. Maybe it was just because I was used to it. But Animal Rising,
I don't find that cringy
I
at all. What's cringe about it?
I don't know. I don't have like an argument. I just when I first heard it, I was like, But I mean, it's not a big thing. Anyway, that's like a side thing. But
I
I was
mean,
watching their.
I kind of want to get into it though. Like, I'm sorry,
Why? I don't
because
think
I
there's
want to
much to
know.
get
Well,
into.
there is, because I want to like describe the feeling you feel when you hear Animal Rising. You don't. What is it? You don't
Well,
like?
it's a
Yeah.
bit like so. A while ago, I was at a. I think it was like a non-violent communication workshop or something,
Okay.
and I think it was that anyway.
Mm.
And we were talking about something called radical honesty,
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, and
It's a crock of
I
shit.
yeah, and we were sort of like we were sat in a circle, and there
Yeah,
was
yeah.
a guy who was leading it. A super nice guy. I really liked the guy. I was friends with him. I haven't seen him in a while, but nothing against the guy. He had just learnt the material and he was just conveying it to us,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And he talks about this thing called radical honesty,
Yeah.
and he sort of describes it a bit. And I was a bit confused, so I like raised my hand and I was like, how does radical honesty differ from just honesty, like just being honest? And he kind of paused for a minute and kind of laughed and said, it just sounds cool, man. And
Okay.
and that I was just like, Oh well, it's that sort of thing.
I
It's
know the
just like
difference.
people using. What is the difference? Does it even
Honest,
exist? What is radical honesty?
yeah, I know exactly the difference. It's another way of saying brutal honesty, because honesty is usually wrapped in a nice little bow, and you're honest, but you also want to soften the blow on somebody. Radical honesty is where you give it to them as you think it. It's like you're not dressing it up, you're not playing around, you're not sugarcoating. You just tell them exactly what you think. That's radical honesty. Like, because most of us sugarcoat honesty, don't we? Like, for example, if I didn't like
Yeah,
your
okay, I get what you
if
mean.
I didn't
Yeah.
like your haircut, right? And you asked me, "What do you think of your haircut?" I'd say, I preferred it before, to be honest with you. But yeah, I mean, you do you." That's me being honest, but soft.
Mm,
Now you ask me again, "Do you like my haircut?" No, it's
it's
shit. You shouldn't have
shit.
had it cut that way. Don't have it cut that way again. I do not think it looks good. One of those is obviously quite radical. One of those is more socially acceptable, isn't it?
Okay, so why do you think it's a crock of shit then? Because it seems to me like
Oh, because
you're pretty radically honest
no, no, no,
often.
no. So, like, what I think is a crock of shit is the spiritual shit around it. So I've heard it in the
Oh, okay.
spiritual sense, like
Yeah, yeah,
radical honesty. Yeah, it helps us connect and da da da. And it's like,
yeah, yeah.
no, no, no. I don't think so. I think there are things in place in our communities that allow us to be cohesive and work together. And one of them is not being radically honest. It's being honest, but in a way that if you want to convince somebody to change or be better or whatever, on a one-on-one basis, then you can't be radically honest because you're just gonna fall. You're gonna get stuck in the weeds of offense. Whereas I feel like if you're talking to a group, you could probably be radically honest because then the offense is shared, right? If you offend 50 people, then none of them's going to take it not anywhere near as badly as when you offend one individual person and you've said it to their face. So
Yeah.
I
Well, tell that to the witches in Salem.
why what explain
You
that?
don't
I
know
don't
the
get it.
Salem witch trials?
Yeah, of course, but I don't get how
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I'm just saying, it's like these people were offended by these women being alternative. They burnt them at
Ah,
the stake. But
right.
if it was one person, I doubt that one person would have gone round,
I mean,
rounded up these women.
they weren't offended. They thought they were cursing them and shit. They were crazy. They thought they were Satan or whatever. Satan fucking devil worshippers, man. It's not the same thing.
Okay, all
What the
right,
hell,
whatever.
man?
I feel like
Like me
it
too.
is. I feel like that is a form
It's
of offense,
not.
right?
Yeah,
You're
but
offended by their
no, dude, it's not.
their heresy.
They think they're going to be like dragged down to hell. They're afraid
Oh,
for their
okay.
lives, man.
They feel like they're going to be cursed by these. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. I get what you mean. I
they
get
were
what you
complete
mean.
idiots. Like they thought, God. They thought they were like, yeah, defending themselves they against real threat. They weren't just offended.
Yeah.
I mean, at least I don't think so.
It's kind of interesting though. I was because I've been listening to the Witch Trials of JK Rowling. Well, I've actually finished it now. The Witch Trials
Oh,
of JK Rowling, which I
yeah,
mentioned to you about,
right.
which is for anyone who doesn't know about it, it's this new podcast. Actually, I don't know how new it is, but I think it's relatively new podcast series this year anyway.
Right.
Which is I think it's a 7-part series. They're about an hour long each, and they go into a bit of the backstory about J.K. Rowling and like how, her life before Harry Potter and then how she wrote Harry Potter and stuff.
Mm.
But it all centers around her like interactions and frictions and controversies with the trans activist movement, however you want to put it, which is separate from actual transgender people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in the
TRA,
series.
isn't it?
It's
That's what they're called, isn't it?
yeah,
TRA,
yeah, yeah,
trans rights activists. That's the one.
yeah. And the series itself is interesting. So I recommend people listen to it if they're interested in this sort of thing.
Mm.
But particularly also interesting that I wasn't aware of this, but this is actually the second time she's been in a controversy.
Okay.
But the first time it was from conservatives, which is interesting because you know how we've spoken about before, how when we were growing up, even though they were at slightly different times,
Mm.
it was the conservative right who were the sort of cultural, um, not cultural enforcers, but the people who would cancel people, if you get what I mean. They were
Okay.
the ones who would get offended by stuff and push for conformity and stuff.
Right.
And now you see that on the left. But it was interesting that when the Harry Potter books started to come out, it was flipped. It was the conservatives,
Mm.
and there was a massive campaign against her books because conservative Christians, at least in America, I'm sure there were
Oh.
other. They thought that she was teaching witchcraft to kids.
Yeah, I remember this actually. Now
Yeah,
you bring it up. Yeah, I
yeah,
forgot about
yeah,
all that.
like mental. And she was saying that her books were banned in certain places.
In
Yeah,
America, obviously.
yeah, like mental crazy stuff.
Oh
And so
man,
that was really
Americans,
interesting.
dude.
She was talking about all of that in the second episode,
Right.
and she was saying
Wait, who she?
that
JK was herself, or the person who made the
y-
podcast?
no, well, both.
Oh, she's
So
okay. I didn't know that.
so it was really interesting. The woman who made the podcast, Megan, I forget her second name.
Mm.
She actually grew up in the bloody hell, what are they called? Really, really hardcore Christian um, uh, group in
Mm.
America who like God hates fags signs and stuff. What are
Yeah.
they called?
The Westboro
Do you remember their
Baptist
name?
Church.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. She grew up in that church,
Right.
and she held these signs. She went to these
Wow.
protests and stuff. She was
As a
like
kid,
deep
yeah.
in it as a kid, and growing up, I
Right.
think into her 20s and stuff.
Yeah.
And then she became de-radicalized. She does explain her story a bit, but I actually forget how she became de-radicalized.
Right.
Um, but I think it was just through a process of having conversations with people and stuff.
Wow.
And
Really?
then
Oh my God. Those bigots who had those conversations with her instead of just ignoring her and canceling her. They're
yeah,
like,
I
can you
know
believe it?
exactly. Yeah.
Who
It's
knew?
so ironic.
Who would have thought that by chatting to someone who is, in a cult,
Yeah,
polarized, would potentially make them see your side? No, 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 no,
yeah.
no, no, no. That's crazy. Cancel them. Cancel them.
Yeah, she doesn't exist. Daryl Davis doesn't exist. None of these people exist. They didn't do what they did.
No, no.
But her going through that experience, she's now like very anti the modern cancel culture stuff because she
Right.
realizes that it just doesn't work.
Yeah, it
You
pushes
know,
people just further into the madness.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
exactly. So she's in that sort of sphere, but she's also very interested
Mm,
in this dynamic, this
mm,
behavior. But she's interested in that sort of de-radicalization aspect, but and cancellations and stuff.
mm, mm.
But she's also interested in the actual people being cancelled and stuff
Yeah.
because she knows that she used to hold beliefs that she now thinks are abhorrent, right?
Mhm.
She doesn't agree with them at all,
Yeah.
and she thinks she caused a lot of harm when she was in the Westboro Baptist Church. Um, and so she wants to give people a fair hearing now. And so
Mm.
she
Like balancing
hosted
the
this
scales
series.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. So she hosted this series on JK Rowling and wrote her a letter
Mm,
saying, "Look, I'm going to do this series, and it would be really good to interview you for it if and J.K. Rowling explains in one of the episodes that
mm,
she found her letter so compelling, good faith, interesting as well, because she
mm.
explained that she came from the Westboro Baptist Church and
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
that she agreed to do it because
Right.
she said obviously she's J.K. Rowling. She gets so many invitations to do interviews and
Yeah.
all this, whatever,
And
be
hate
involved in
death
X, Y,
threats.
Z. Yeah, death threats as well. Yeah, and which I mean, which actually she does. Like
Yeah.
we were kind of laughing a bit then, but she does get death threats from people.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt.
And she's had those from the conservative right and from the sort of woke left, or however you want to put them.
Right.
And yeah, so it's super interesting. It's interesting who the host is. It's interesting
Yeah.
hearing J.K. Rowling's side as well. But I felt it was a fairly balanced, I wouldn't say it was completely 50-50, but it was a fairly balanced series.
Mm,
She gets trans activists on, she gets trans commentators on, she gets people who are fans of J.K. Rowling's
mhm.
books and happen to be trans as well, interviews all of them. So
Right.
it's pretty well rounded. It's really interesting. She gets people who really dislike J.K. Rowling stuff. She gets people who are sort of understand where she's coming from, but think she's being a bit harsh. And she gets people on that are,
What's the name of
supportive of
this
her.
this thing, the
The witch trilings of J.K. Rowling. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because we were talking about Salem, and she was saying that she called it the witch trials of JK Rowling because she thinks that what happened to JK Rowling is reminiscent of what happened to the witches in Salem,
Right.
because there was this witch hunt based on this misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Because through interviewing JK Rowling, someone can disagree with the things that JK Rowling is saying, but the misunderstanding is that she was hateful.
Right.
And I mean, I listened to this podcast series. I didn't actually know much about the controversies before, but I listened to this podcast series. You hear people on both sides. You go and watch some other videos and stuff, and it does seem like a misunderstanding. Like, she doesn't seem to have any hate for people at all.
Hmm.
So it was really interesting. Yeah, I'd recommend anyone to go and listen
So I
to that
guess the
series.
real question that everybody's wondering now is Lawrence going to burn himself at the stake? Are you going to tie? Are you going to tie your own knot and your own rope and hang yourself in it right now and say that you're pro JK Rowling?
I wouldn't say I'm either pro or anti. I think she has valid points. I can understand why other people were maybe upset with her because she was very idolized. Like, I think I was born a bit too late.
Hold up a minute.
To
Hold up a minute.
what,
I'm not having this. Right? How long is this podcast series?
7 episodes. They were between 45 to an hour each.
You've done
So
all of them.
I've listened to all of them. Yeah.
You're telling me after 7 hours of listening to a podcast specifically about one topic and one person, you're gonna
Yeah.
go down the middle ground and say I'm not going pro or anti? You gotta
But
take a side, dude. Don't be a bitch. Take a side
okay,
right now, and don't be one of these people that sees both sides on something.
okay,
Like,
I'll take a
you
side.
have
I'll take a
you have to
side.
take a side after 7 hours,
Okay.
bro. Come on.
Okay. So first of all, I think it's perfectly fine to be down the middle on
It's
some things.
not.
But
No,
if
it's
I'm gonna
not. Though
if I'm gonna take a
there is a
side,
clear right and wrong to this. Either she's wrong or she's right. That's it, right?
no, okay, I'll take a side.
All right.
I think I if I was going to take a side, I would take her side.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But I think both sides make valid points, but I also, I don't know about valid points, but I think sometimes people talk past each other because and I don't know if you want to like get into this like now, but
Yeah.
one of the key controversies was her wanting to protect specifically like female spaces where women can be vulnerable. So,
Right.
are they called crisis centers?
Yeah,
I think,
where like
and stuff.
women who've been beaten and abused
Yeah,
mentally or physically, they go and escape to these places. Yeah.
exactly. I think they go by different names in different countries, but I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure in this country we call them crisis centers and stuff. And JK, or Joe as they call her in the series, is making she originally made the point in a tweet, which is I think where you first go wrong. If you
Yeah.
want to enter a nuanced and make a nuanced point on a conversation,
Yeah.
don't do it in a tweet.
That's
She
reasonable.
did
Yeah.
later. Yeah, she did later go on and fully flesh out her views and stuff in an article.
Although, just as an FYI, today's Twitter, if you've got Twitter Blue, you've paid for it, or you've got the blue check, then you can make tweet points now because you can write a fucking essay. But yeah, back when she was tweeting, the character limit was like 30 letters. So you probably shouldn't tweet about something so charged and nuanced when you can't even. You could do a thread, I suppose, but it's risky.
Which I don't think she did.
Yeah, you're not gonna get the full message across, and that's something that I know I've been criticized for before as well. You know, but yeah, sometimes it's I don't know. Sometimes you do it on purpose as well. Sometimes it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna give you a snapshot of this thing I'm talking about, but with her and that topic, maybe it's not suitable. I don't know.
Yeah, so the main point that I think she was trying to say is, I think female only spaces, especially when they are defined by vulnerability, those are things worth protecting. And she thinks that allowing biological males who identify as a woman, allowing them to enter those spaces will put women at risk. Now, I think a lot of people heard what she said and interpreted it as those specific, like trans people, are out to get people, or they are dangerous in some way, or they're perverts or something like that.
Right.
I don't think that was the point she was making. Now, strike me down if I'm wrong. Maybe I am wrong, but after listening to her for 7 hours, I don't think she was making that point. I think what she was saying was, these people, those specific people, are not necessarily dangerous. Now, obviously, there will be some trans women who are dangerous, just like there are some all people who are
Yeah.
dangerous, right? So
Yeah.
that's not exclusive to any particular group. The point she was making, though, is not about the danger of those specific people. It's that if you allow them in, you allow any man in,
Right.
right, or
Yeah.
any male. And so that's the point, is that there is just a class of man out there who wants to get something from women, and he doesn't care about how women feel about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, or he wants to take some aggression out on them or something.
Yeah.
And those men, um, are able, if they're able to access those spaces,
Yeah.
they will use that back door to do it,
Well,
right?
yeah.
And that's the issue I think she was having, is not necessarily, maybe she would also have an issue with allowing, like, male-bodied people, or however you want to put it, people who are of the male form but genuinely identify as women, and they
Right.
they're not
It's
bullshitting or anything like that. Yeah,
the thing is, man, it's I mean, we're not going to go too deep into this, I don't think, but it isn't a black and white topic because, for example,
yeah,
take somebody like Buck Angel, who is a
exactly.
trans
Yeah.
man who still has a vagina. So can he use those spaces? I mean, dude's got a
It would be
beard.
weird. Yeah, exactly. It'd be weird, right?
Right. So exactly how there's someone somewhere needs to just get this down on paper, like, as to what the rules are around these spaces, and like how exactly is it going to, because imagine those women who are in there who have been abused, and this is the only place they can go where they feel safe, and somebody who looks like Buck Angel, who has
Mm,
also been abused, tries to come in. That woman who's in there is going to see this female who has transitioned to a man, like a trans man,
mm,
and they're going to be like, oh my god, they're going to be terrified of this
mm,
person. But
exactly.
then you know so what is the rule exactly? So no trans men or trans women are allowed here, even though one of these is a biological female. So technically,
Mm.
if this is a space for biological females, then the trans
He should be
man
let
should be
in.
allowed
Yeah,
in. So then it's like, oh man, I don't even. Yeah, I
exactly.
honestly, I've got like I think we agreed for our podcasts here to try to talk about stuff we've got skin in the game on. And I'm just,
Yeah.
honestly, anyone out there who is trans or has trans family, or I really feel for you, because this is I feel so privileged that don't have skin in this game, because I would really hate to be living in a world that's so confused like this right now. And
Mm.
for those people who have to navigate all of this and get into all these debates and see all these people talking about them, it must be really shit. You know what I
And
mean? Just
tiring as well.
you just
Yeah,
want to be like, you just want to go on with your
you
life.
just want to be
Okay,
you.
just do your shit, but the problem is the world's not built for these people.
Mm.
It's built in a way where it's like there are spaces that have rules and stuff, and the rules are kind of confusing, because, like I said, if it's okay, only biological females here, that's it's not going to work, because then there's going to
Yeah,
be a biological female who
Buck
doesn't look like a
Angel. Yeah,
biological female anymore. That's going to upset all the people in there. So it's, I don't know, dude. It's I don't know the answers to this, and
yeah,
I'm not even if I knew the answers, I guess I don't even know what I'd do with it. It's not for
yeah. No, I
this
get what you mean.
discussion that I can't have
It,
any real kind of, I can't change anything we can't change anything by discussing this, even if we had the answers.
yeah, yeah, and it's also just sad, as in, like trans people as well, like they have like a legitimate issue
Right.
which is causing frustration in their life, and for a lot of them, frustration is putting it lightly. um but at the same time, when they've got to deal with their own shit, they're
Yeah.
being treated as a political football, you know.
Right. Fucking hell. Yes.
Yeah,
So I
so
suppose,
it's,
like,
I
when you say
totally get
it's
it.
like psychological distress, they'll be going through a lot of psychological
Yeah.
distress just from being this way without the world. They're just sitting at home. They're most likely experiencing some kind of distress, going through
Mm,
all these changes and stuff. And then they go out into the world, and then it's even, this. Yeah, I don't know. It's tricky, but
mm,
I guess, yeah. And this is where, like, people, I guess a lot of people might criticize. I've not watched this podcast, but it's interesting
what,
that, yeah, you
yeah.
you're more, I don't know, I guess before you didn't really know, but now you're more kind of, I guess you understand the situation more, and you take her side on it, that she's not done
Yeah, but
anything
I
really
mean, this is
wrong.
why I was hesitant for you to fucking pigeonhole me into one side,
Well,
because
I'm
it's
just,
like,
listen, I just feel like, okay, okay, fine. I'll hang myself with you. Let me have a think about something. Like, what did I do something like this?
well, no, you don't have to.
I mean, I can do it
This
if
is,
you'd like.
you
I
don't
can tell
have to.
you.
No, but I wouldn't like. I don't need you to like. You don't need to like publicly hang yourself to back me up.
Fine,
Like,
okay.
okay, you've pushed me off the edge of the cliff. There's no point you fucking jumping
Well,
on
I
after.
look. I rewatched the video I did the other day with Arvind, and I was laughing with him in the interview, Arvind, animal activist, about
Yeah,
how these days people are such pussies. They won't take. They act like politicians on a lot of stuff. Like they'll speak publicly on something, but they'll do it in a really pathetic way. And in my
yeah,
opinion, if you're not ready to get into something and support, like you don't have to be like polarized, but if you're not ready to give your full kind of, oh, this is what I think on this, here's my full take, and I'm supportive, or even it can be 51%, 49%, but taking the pure 50-50 route on stuff, I feel like it's kind of like, um I don't know. I
man.
don't know. I feel like it's being
It's
overly political. And I've done
yeah,
it, by the way. I've done it, and I regret doing it in the past on stuff. I regret being 50-50 on stuff. I feel like we should, especially if you've not really put the time and effort in, you probably shouldn't. I don't know, if you've not put the time and effort into researching it, then I suppose loosely chatting about it in a podcast, yeah, whatever, right?
mm,
Okay, fine. Then if you want to take a 50-50, fine. If you're not really sure, I suppose it's reasonable. But if you've really, really dug deep, 7 hours deep into something, then you should really have a take that's like one way or the other, at least like a couple of percent. You know what I mean? At least.
yeah. I get what you mean, and I've heard a term which kind of fits it is like managed speech. Like
Okay.
you hear it from politicians all the time. Like they
Oh
constantly
yeah.
manage their speech. Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, which to be honest, I find really annoying. But
And it
I
doesn't.
don't
I mean,
feel.
the opposite of that is not. I don't. I don't. But I want to reiterate: polarization is not where I'm going with this. It's not like
Hmm,
I am. Yeah, I am pro JK. I'm totally behind JK all the
yeah,
way. Go JK. No, it doesn't mean that. But it means a nuanced take. Okay, after listening for a long time, I think she's more in the right than wrong.
yeah. Just holding yourself.
Right, like that's it. Like I
Yeah.
think I'm more swaying to her side, although I acknowledge the criticisms. It's the same as what we talk about veganism, or with you with antinatalism. So with me with veganism, I am 100% on the animal side, of course, but that doesn't mean I don't hear some of the valid critiques of people who are,
Yeah.
eating animals. Sometimes they come up with something that's like I hadn't considered, and then I think
Yeah.
about it and I work
Nature
and
though.
see how we feel. Yeah, nature though, exactly. Yeah, but they're very often I don't agree with them, but sometimes I can acknowledge that, okay, there is something to be discussed there.
Hmm,
Maybe it's not completely black and white on that one thing they brought up, but I'm still, I still end up with the conclusion of, but okay, that thing's worth thinking about, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't be vegan, right? For example, you with antinatalism, lots of people
hmm.
have bad arguments against you, but a couple of people sometimes bring up some philosophical
Valid
stuff, and you're
considerations. Yeah.
like, I'm still an antinatalist, but yeah, I can see your point, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is nuanced position taking. So you're not polarized. You're not like you're
Hmm.
all wrong. Fuck you. It's more. That's what I mean when I'm saying take a side. That's what I mean. I just couldn't let you. I couldn't allow you to sit here after 7 hours of listening to that and go, yeah, I see both sides. Like, come on, bro. What the fuck is this? Come on, man. And I know why you
That's
did it. I know why you did it. But
yeah.
yeah,
It
for,
it is because there is valid things in both sides, but
yeah.
I get what you mean. I lean towards JK because
Mm,
and but also like I think one thing that really doesn't help people is um when you demonize someone so much, you do make them the underdog. When
mm,
she's probably the most successful author in the world. Like she's not an underdog, but
right,
she gets she almost like accrues this like underdog label
right.
because she's just been hounded so much by
Yeah.
people.
I saw some people make the argument that she's an incredibly successful woman, yet most feminists have turned on her because of the views on this, and they're kind of
Mm,
pointing out that you're trying to take down somebody who's in their eyes broken through patriarchal systems to be extremely
mm,
successful. And they're saying that before all of this, she was heralded as like a feminist icon. Even she was like, oh yeah, she shows that we can succeed, and then she makes in their eyes a couple of mistakes, and all of a sudden she's the devil. Like she is literally evil. Like people, they
mm.
really, I've not listened to this podcast, so I'm only giving you my observations right now, and I don't really know the ins and outs. I've not seen every tweet she supposedly made that's been offensive. I've seen a couple, and I didn't think they were particularly bad, but I can't speak for all of the others. This podcast, I guess, goes through them, but yeah, now it's crazy that she's Satan. She went from like the best, like she's incredible, to just pure Satan. She's evil. She was never good. She was always evil inside, rotten to the core. You know,
I missed it when I was growing up because I was just a bit too late. I was born a bit too late to really be because there was a specific generation where if you were born in like a 3-4 year window or whatever,
right.
you would be that age group where you'd be just at the right age group when the first book was published, and then she published. With each book they got slightly more because the characters got older, and so basically if your age tracked the characters' age as they grew up, you would essentially grow up with the books and they would grow up with you,
right.
and in each book she would deal with, so for example, in the very first book they would probably slightly before puberty, and then in as the books go on they get interested in girls, they get interested in boys, they have all these awkward interactions and stuff, and they would reflect what's happening in your life as
They're
well.
magic wanks.
Exactly, yeah. Imagine every teenage boy, he's just given this wand that can do magic, and it's like, the first place he's going to go. I thought we said we were going to avoid this topic from now on.
Nope, impossible.
Yeah. And I kind of missed that train. So I really didn't appreciate how much like fandom and how much people idolized her.
Right.
And they go over it in this podcast, and it's insane. Like she was seen as a feminist idol. She was just seen as like she was a mother figure for millions of kids, like all of this sort of stuff. Yeah. It was pretty mad, like by the sounds of it.
Yeah. And then she went straight from that to, like I said, evil, Satan.
Yeah.
Worse than
one tweet. Yeah.
Worse than Hitler.
Exactly. One tweet and you're worse than Hitler.
Yeah, it's mad how that can change so quickly on a dime. Just done. It's all different now.
Yeah.
So we've got
that to look forward to.
Yeah. So we got from Animal Rebellion to that. I don't even know what the connection was, but yeah.
Well, I made a random shit joke about Salem that didn't land.
So in conclusion, Animal Rising. Just
that was it. It was because
why not close with that?
We went from Animal Rising, it being I found it cringy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We went from there. Yeah.
Well, I think overall, anyway, they have my full support. Animal Rising. I think they did a stellar job. I think they smashed it. I think anyone who's got a problem with them and what they did needs to give their head a shake. This is the most expensive fucking event. Like it's so expensive to get in on all these tickets and all these posh wankers. If people, but these people they didn't have a good time. I really. Why do you care? Why does 99% of the UK population can't afford a ticket to that bullshit? Why do you give a shit if these people had a bad time? Why do you care about them? They don't care about you. They think you're scum. So stop crying about these rich assholes and think about why these activists actually went out there and did what they did. It's horse racing. It's brutal. It's violent. If you want to bet on something, bet on the football. It's mental. Bet on the football, rugby, American football, UFC, any MMA, boxing, bloody
Greyhound racing.
Bet on the bullfighting in Spain. There's so many options. No, I mean, come on, man. Fuck. There's so many options to bet on. There's so many things you can waste your money on. Go to the casino. I don't know. Just Quidditch. There's so many better ways to waste your money, and don't waste it on betting on animal abuse, guys.
Yeah.
It's a shame because I feel like I should clip that and put it at the start, but then the integrity of the podcast is that we just gonna let it flow, I suppose. So we'll just leave it as is. And I think we'll wrap this one up there.
Well, I thought it was sick.
Yeah, me too. Cheers, guys. Catch you in the next one.